What's up, Latino Nation? My name is Tony Delgado, and we are here backstage at CPAC Latino with my good friend Matt, the chairman of CPAC. Matt, thank you so much for being here, man.
Great to be here. Great to be in Miami. It's always so much fun and a great event so far, Tony.
Yeah, it's been a great event so far. So, CPAC has, over the last few years, made this big international push, and you're doing a lot of things in Latin America. Why do you think it's important to not just focus in the United States, but to go international?
So people ask me this question, and I should have this great answer about how I have this amazing strategy. But the fact is, I think we're probably in Latin America because of my wife, Mercy, and that's where her heart is. So she, talks to a lot of people in different countries, and we want to inspire people to not give up hope. We want to inspire people that being involved in politics can make a difference. But in a lot of these countries, it's a blood sport, and you can end up in prison, you can end up killed. Running for office takes a lot of courage. But how can we go around the other parts of the globe when we can't take care of our own neighborhood? It feels like we got a lot of work to do here. The good and the bad news is the bad guys, China, Iran, others, they do a great job destabilizing the Western Hemisphere and Latin America because they're trying to create a lot of problems for America to our southern border. Because what we realized happened across is that basically America is the hope for freedom in the whole globe. And people could run America down, and maybe they don't like this or that part of America. But at the end of the day, anybody who's a freedom lover around the globe, they know they need America to secure it.
Yeah, I feel like people who live in America and have lived here their whole lives, maybe we take it for granted. But really, the immigrants and the international community know, it's different. Freedom's different in America, right?
Yeah, I think in America we think that we can't be gone. We've been here for 250 years. We'll probably be here for another 2,000 years. And of course, we know the history of democracies. They tend to run about 250 years. So it's a little bit of we're in a dangerous spot. And the problem for America is we are destroying ourselves from within. There's no enemy that's destroying us. We're destroying ourselves. 2024, the re-election of Donald Trump gives a lot of us hope. That's a temporary hope. We still have these fundamental problems with our institutions, which are now well-funded and wired to try to end America, and we have to vanquish them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, unfortunately, that's the double-edged sword of democracy is we're allowed to fight and criticize each other, but then we end up fighting and criticizing each other because of freedom of speech and the way our democratic process works. And that's something that I saw both leaders of China and then in recent weeks, leaders of Iran kind of echo a similar tone and saying, hey, America, well, you've only been here 250 years. We've been here thousands of years and we're not going anywhere. Why do you think that America should stay a democracy and the democratic process should prevail?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I actually do have people in the conservative side of things that are wondering, maybe democracy can't work here. And
let's just make Trump a king.
Broken. And I guess all I'd say is that, remember, our founders, they didn't really want a pure democracy. The left wants a pure democracy. Our founders, who I don't think were leftists in any way, they wanted a democracy in the form of a republic.
Yeah.
And I get corrected a lot that we're a democratic republic, which is more accurate. Yeah. What does a democratic republic mean? It means that you elect people to then represent you in a legislative chamber. It means that you have an electoral college to determine where those electoral votes in a state will go. And the problem with direct democracies is they are easily overtaken by factionalism and the demons that our founders talked about in the Federalist Papers. And, Tony, we're having this conversation in a context where our kids don't learn any of this. Right. Very few of them learn only a little bit of it. The real understanding of the thinking and the scholarship behind the foundation of America is steeped in the great books of Western civilization, which has been mostly removed because they call it a patriarchy, racist. It's been pushed out so they can push in LGBTQ and the Green New Deal and all these, even with my kids, who I think go to pretty good schools, I listen to their homework assignments in history and in social studies. And it's a lot of this crap that's, in all the books and everything else. So I believe that, yes, democracy can still work, that yes, America can heal itself of this very purposeful destruction and division in the country. I think we can come out the other side. And if we don't, I don't think civilization will exist on the globe for very long.
Yeah. It's such good points. I mean, first and foremost, you're absolutely right. The educational system has taught us to hate this country.
Yep.
I remember in kindergarten learning about racism, slavery, and sexism. And I went home to my mom, and and I was crying, and I was like, "Mom, I learned that they killed all the black people, they killed all the Native Americans, and they oppressed all the women, and I'm a white guy, and so I'm like evil, I'm a bad guy." And I was crying as a kindergartner because of the textbooks, because the history books, and that really isn't the history of America. I think America was one of the first places to abolish slavery, right? And Abraham Lincoln, a Republican president, was fighting and most likely got assassinated because he was fighting for freedom. So I definitely think freedom gets taken for granted. And to your second point, yeah, we're supposed to be a democratic republic, and each state is supposed to have their sovereignty, right? And so the federal government has become so big now, and dictating what states' rights should be as far as money and commerce. What would you like to see, I guess, in this administration to give states back their right and give states some more sovereignty?
Well, it probably is not the greatest timing to be talking about federalism, right? Through the 10th Amendment, one of the ways in which our founders decided we would separate power wasn't just the branches of the federal government, but was this whole idea that states, through the 10th Amendment, would retain most of the powers.
Yeah.
You need a national government to do certain things like currency, to make sure that there could be commerce amongst the states, to make sure that there was a national border and a national military, but they didn't get much beyond that. It was left to the states to handle most of those other questions. And I would simply say, with everything that the communists have done inside our country, it actually is a time for us to reassert those things that the federal government, that the national government has the constitutional right to do. For instance, immigration, borders. These are areas where the president has a lot of power. Now, all of a sudden, the left is talking about, well, you got to let a district court determine what the policy is. You got to let some judge in Utah or New York City or wherever determine what the policy is. Oh, Trump is a fascist dictator because, he's trying to put people who came here illegally out. So I think this is actually not a time to take a lot of power and appropriately have it run through the states. I think we have to reimagine by training people that just because Donald Trump is a Republican doesn't mean that he's neutered as the president, which is what they want. When these progressives become the president, they do everything. Nobody stands in their way. Every public policy thing they've ever wanted, they've been able to achieve, except almost the most radical things: getting rid of the Electoral College, making Washington, D.C. a state, permanently banning the personal possession of firearms. I mean, they're literally just steps away from all these things. Or having the Supreme Court have so much political pressure on it that they, greenlight or rubber stamp these things. It's one of the reasons Trump won, because they're at the end stages. It's now completely obvious what they want to do. It's now completely obvious they don't care about the Constitution. It's now completely obvious they don't want a vibrant faith community in this country. They hate religion. It's now obvious they don't want our boys to grow up to be proud. Even the white kids, right?
Yeah.
Proud young men who want to be men, and that men are different from women. And I have 5 daughters, and they want to marry a man who understands it's okay to be a strong, masculine man. These are truths that we're discovering awfully late, but it's a time now to defend them. And once again, I have hope that that will result in the right policies, but I'm going to soft pedal the idea of states' rights for a while, because I want to see the president be able to use the authority that he has. That being said, if we can kind of teach the American people about the appropriateness of separation of powers, of federalism, of where power should reside, the ending part of that story is the power resides in you. It resides in them, that they should govern themselves, that when they make bad personal choices it reflects on them and on society. They should make fewer of those choices. We've all made those choices, but we should make fewer of those choices. And, if we could get back to understanding that a lot of governance is in your own person, in your own family, in your own community. Maybe we won't look for the federal government to solve each and every problem. And man, do they do it in the most expensive and inefficient way.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
You
right?
just have to fly. Tony and I have flown together.
Yeah.
And we were both bitching about it because it's like, are you kidding me? You couldn't come up with a worse system if you were trying.
Well, yeah, definitely. I think both on the left and the right, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of blaming, there's a lot of waiting for the government to save us. And so I love that final point of personal responsibility, right? Of people governing their own families, right? Just because, the world's going crazy doesn't mean you don't, you get to go crazy in your own home. So I
And you
love
have to
that.
look at yourselves. I mean, I'm cranky a lot of the time. I live in Northern Virginia, I live right outside the swamp. And, it can put you in a bad mood. But you also have to catch yourself. And you have to say, you're providing an example to someone with the way you act. Maybe you shouldn't yell at that person serving you the meal, even if they got the meal wrong again or whatever. Or you're frustrated because they scratched your car when you went to go have the lunch or whatever. There's a lot of things that are dysfunctional in the city, but we have to kind of recapture this idea of being grace-filled, being considerate towards our neighbors. And I think it's red state people, by and large, they're faith-based people who can remind people there's a certain way to act. And it's okay to get mad at someone when you're aggrieved, but, by and large, perhaps our decency will rub off on other people and they'll realize that's a better way to act. And what I see in America is way too much vitriol all the time in all kinds of places. And it's almost like the politics has poisoned everything. And it would be nice if we just could rid ourselves of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Matt, thank you so much for doing this, my friend. I'm excited for CPAC Latino, for this amazing event and for all the places you guys are going next. What's next for CPAC? What are the next events coming up?
We're going to be I was just talking to Eduardo Verostegui. We're going to be in Mexico in November. We're going to be in Argentina in November. We're going to be in Paraguay, Colombia. We're going to be in Australia, I think in August. We're going to be in
Brazil, right?
Brazil. Yeah, Eduardo Bolsonaro is here. We're going to be in Japan at the end of the year, which I think is the first week in December. And in between all these international events, we'll be having events all across the country. We'll be very involved in the midterms coming up. We're very involved in the policy fights, the public policy fights in Washington, D.C. We set up a new center to combat anti-Semitism, which is on top of our center to combat human trafficking. We have a center that is focused on getting the smart regulations through the process in Washington, D.C. And, CPAC's trying to pick good fights, too. We're fighting with, I think, all the right kind of people. And I totally can tell over the course of the last 12 years an amazing impact that we've had. And, for the course of the next 3.5 years, Donald Trump is the lead blocker. He's going to take most of the hits and he's going to make most of the gains. But the important thing for groups like CPAC is to make sure that we help him be as successful as possible, because we got to make the most of the next 3+ years. But then after that, there's a post-Trump America, which people have to, grasp, which we're going to have to figure out how to keep this coalition together. If the coalition busts up, the socialists are going to win. So I'm going to commit myself to keeping the coalition together.
I love it. Matt, thank you so much, my friend, and looking forward to all the CPACs coming up this year.
Let's do it, man. All right, Tony. Thank you.